All right, Shalom. So like y'all, my daughters came in here being chatty with me. The children, they don't have the patience to sit through service. Salakia. So, like I was saying, we have to rehearse. Let me get that. Judges 5 and 11. All right, Israelite 101. Okay, Israelite 101. Judges 5 and 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers and the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of Yahweh go down to the gates. Now, this debate about the right or correct or exact date, that's what the Most High said we're rehearsing the righteous acts, because like I said, if you try to go with all these different dates Israel be coming with, you will be all over the place. Israel will have you confused. You won't know where your calendar is at. You have to have a system of calculating feast days, because you have to have your calendar out in a timely manner. You can't be every month, oh, I calculated this day. All right, 2 days before the feast, you telling somebody when the feast is. So that's the risk you're taking of debate, the risk of debate. Because when you come up with a calendar or a system of counting feast days, if you're open for scrutiny, because everybody else going to say, well, I got this date. And a lot of y'all, what y'all do is y'all say, well, why can't y'all brothers just come together and agree on a date? Okay, that would be so good if it was that easy with Israel. That would be so good, because somebody going to come in there with a 10-page report. They've been looking up NASA and satellites and the naval. They've been to the naval aquatic. It's just Israel going to come with all kinds of research. So you have to just decide on a date or dates according to the calculations that you understand, and put these calendars out in a timely manner so that Israel can know when the feast days are coming up. Khan? I guess not. All right, but anyway, anybody still on a conference call? Khan? All right. So do y'all understand? All right, that's why you might have different dates. But like I said, it will drive you crazy if you try to go with all these different calculations that different brothers be coming up with. You understand? You would be all over the place. So you have to have these dates out in a timely manner so that people can know, okay, I know Hanukkah is coming up, such and such day, okay. Where we having it at? What date? Okay, let me make my proper preparations. You have to do that in this kingdom, because you work, you live certain places. You got to worry about transportation. You got to see how your money is, what you going to cook. If sisters are decorating, they got to make sure whoever's doing what, they got to have their input, their money and time. Whoever's cooking, whatever, you got to consider all that. You got to take all that into consideration. Like when you're doing Passover, you got to know where you're going to get your lamb, where you're going to rent your venue at. You don't have time to be trying to figure out a date for Passover 2 weeks before Passover. That stuff, you have to have that stuff established months in advance. That's why you have to come up. You have to come up with a system of calculating feast days, and you have to stay with that system each year. Otherwise, you'll have your congregation all over the damn place throughout the year for the feast days. Everybody understand? All right, so let's go to 1 Corinthians, real quick, 1 Corinthians 14:40. 1 Corinthians 14:40. Okay, this is 1 Corinthians 14:40. It said, let all things be done decently and in order. So when you can't have all these different trains of thought and everybody trying to calculate. You got 10 different brothers trying to agree on a date to keep a feast day, and everybody got a different date or everybody got a different calculation. The only thing you can do is say, all right, brother, I'm going to take low and I'm going to go by your research. And just so we can agree and be on one, I'm going to follow the date that you have. But you think it's going to be that easy with Israel? Some brothers might say that, but then you're going to have a group of brothers that say, no, this is the right day right here, brother, and we're going to stick with this day. And I'm like, well, nah, brother, that date don't make sense. You kind of way off, brother. How did you come up with that? So either way, we got to rehearse and do things decently and in order. Let's build the system and let's follow that. Calculate the feast days each year and stick with that in a timely manner. We can't help what other camps and congregations are going to do. We just got to wait and pray and let the Most High bring it together in due time. Everybody understand, Karen? All right, so now let's go to Numbers 29 and 35. I think that's where I left off at. Numbers chapter 29 and verse 35. All right. Shalakia, y'all might have heard my babies in the background. All right. They coming out their nice fresh bath with their nice clothes on, looking nice for the closing of the feast. So I was chatting with them a little bit. Numbers chapter 29, verse 35. It says, on the 8th day ye shall have a solemn assembly. Ye shall do no servile work therein. But ye shall offer a burnt offering, a sacrifice made by fire, a sweet savor unto the Lord Yahweh. 1 bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without blemish. Their meat offerings and their drink offerings for the bullock, for the ram, and for the lambs shall be according to their number, after the manner. And 1 goat for a sin offering, beside the continual burnt offering and his meat offering and his drink offering. These things ye shall do unto Yahweh in your set feasts, beside your vows and your freewill offerings, for your burnt offerings, and for your meat offerings, and for your drink offerings, and for your peace offerings. And Moses told the children of Yasha'Allah according to all that Yahweh commanded Moses. All right, so everybody write down Leviticus chapter 23, Numbers chapter 28, and Numbers chapter 29. Those 3 chapters all go together because Leviticus 23 tells us all the feast days, and then Numbers 28 and 29, it reiterates all those feast days. And it tells us a sacrifice was to be burnt on each of those feast days. All right. So the Most High, he continues to repeat in the scriptures because he wants us to know. Everybody understand? Khan? All right, so let's go to Hosea 12 and 9. Hosea chapter 12, verse 9. So we coming back to celebrating the feast days when we get in the kingdom and back in order. Right now we rehearsing. We still do it now, but we're going to do it in perfect order in the kingdom of heaven. Hosea 12 and 9. Hosea chapter 12 and verse 9. All right, and it reads, Shalom, baby. All right. Hosea 12 and 9. And I that am Yahweh thy power from the land of Egypt. See, The Feast of Tabernacles is also based upon us remembering coming out of Egypt. All right, coming out of Egypt and dwelling in the booths. All right, so he said, I am the same God from the land of Egypt. I'm the same God that delivered you from the land of Egypt. Will yet make thee to dwell in tabernacles as in the days of the solemn feast. All right, so the Most High was letting Israel know. Remember, he was rebuking the northern kingdom in the book of Hosea. But he said, when I deliver y'all, when I bring y'all out of y'all idolatry, and when I have mercy on y'all, and especially when I set y'all back up in the kingdom, y'all going to dwell in the tabernacles like y'all did in the solemn feast day. So the Most High said he was going to bring us back to our feast days, throughout scripture and prophecy. And also we coming back to it now in these last days. All right, he's having us come back to the familiarity with our feast days now. We're not just going to wait, all right, we're going to do it in the kingdom. No, he's bringing us back to it now. We're rehearsing the righteous acts. So, of course, we can't do nothing if somebody got a different date. Israel is like the sand of the sea. There's millions of Israelites on the earth that's woken up to the truth. Now, if we can get everybody on one date, that'll be beautiful. All right, but y'all keep praying and fasting. Don't hold your breath. Y'all know if we can't agree on doctrine, simple doctrine, and a lot of y'all get upset by that, like I supposed to make a brother see the scripture the way I see it. No, you can't do that. The scriptures say, come, let us reason together. We reason, everybody produce their cause, we debate, brothers have debated. We got to disagree. We don't see it that way. All right, it's not about pride or nothing like that. It's just, we just disagree. What you saying doesn't make sense according to what I'm reading in scripture. So likewise, you're going to have that with dates. All right, I done seen it all. All right, I done have brothers come to me. Zabak, how did you get that date? The Feast of Tabernacles is October 17th and the 3rd. I don't know how you get a third of a day, but, I'm just being sarcastic, y'all. But I've heard some wild stuff out there. Like, well, then when you look into the sun's edge and then you look at how it reflects on the earth and then the sun comes down, that's the true day you got to celebrate it, brother. Where the hell did you get that from, brother? That's nothing but confusion. All right, you're going to bring confusion. So you get a system. You do your own research. And you get a system of how you calculate the dates. Then the brothers and sisters that are under your leadership or that congregation or whatever, you all as one body, you follow. I know some brothers and sisters that said, listen, I trust what the elders have brought out. I'm just going along with the dates that we're being given. I pray to the Most High for mercy. If I'm wrong, but I'm following my leadership. All right, so that's the thing, but we still supposed to try. We still supposed to try to go back to what the brother was saying earlier. But anyway, let's move on. Zechariah 14:16. All right, a couple more and then start winding down. Zechariah 14:16. Hey, baby. You took your shower? Okay. Zechariah 14:16. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. See, in the kingdom, all nations going to bow down and keep the Most High's feast days. All right, now in Leviticus 23, it told us in the beginning, all that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, because that was for us to remember coming out of Egypt. But in the kingdom, all nations going to keep the feast days, but they're going to be separate from Israel. We're going to have our dwelling, and they're going to be separate. All right, so verse 17, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth, even Salakia, of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacle. So, Zechariah 14:18. Y'all can link that up with Hosea 12:9. Zechariah 14:18 with Hosea 12:9. Because what? The Most High said that if the family of Egypt go not up. Now remember in Hosea 12:9, he said, I, Yahweh thy power from the land of Egypt. So if the Egyptians get proud and say, we not keeping that day celebrates when they was delivered from us. Their power drowned us in the Red Sea and they wandered for 40 years. The Lord said there will be no rain upon their land. So he wanted us to remember. He said, if the Egyptians get proud and think they're not going to celebrate my day, it's not going to be any rain upon their land. Hypothetically speaking, because all the nations are going to bow down and serve the Most High. There might be some rebels in the beginning for the Most High to make examples out of, but once we get things rocking in the kingdom, everybody's going to bow to the Most High in the nation of Israel. All nations. All right. 19. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and a punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So once again, y'all can add this verse too, Salakia. Hosea 12:9 with Zechariah 14:18 and 19. Hosea 12:9 with Zechariah 14:18 and 19. All right. Verse 20. And that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto Yahweh. And the pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto Yahweh of hosts. And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and seethe therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of Yahweh of hosts. All right, so in that day is going to be righteousness and holiness and purity in the kingdom of heaven. And there's going to be no more Canaanite, no more Africans in our land. Well, not in the house of the Most High. They're going to be in the land as slaves, but not in the house of the Most High. All right, these other heathen nations claiming to be Israel and trying to cleave to our... No. The house of the Lord, the temple is only going to be for Israel and Israel only. Because I believe even in the history, they tell you some of the heathen that try to look like us and dress like us, they used to try to sneak in the temple also. But that's not happening. All right. Ephraimite Magun in the building. Shalom, Mark. Kwame Sha'ala. Happy Feast of Tabernacles. All right. I think y'all out there camping in PA, man. Tell everybody I said Shalom. Give them my love out there with the Mac. Camping out there in PA. But that's what the scriptures say, Israel. The nation's going to have their outer court, like it tell you in Revelations 11. But the nation's going to have to bow down and serve the Most High also. You think we're going to be ruling and they're going to be doing what the hell they want to do? No. All right? So that's what we're doing, Israel. We're making a means to an end. All this is preparation for the real thing. Like it tell you in Luke, the 1st chapter, the Most High is making ready a people prepared for the Lord. All right? Right? So y'all got to realize and understand, in coming back to this knowledge, we are going on faith. We are doing what the Most High tell us to do to the best of our ability. Nobody's purposely trying to do anything the wrong way. Shalom, Amina. Shout out to HOI Philly. That's going to be one of our founding sisters of HOI Philly. All right. But yeah, Israel. Everybody understand? So keep these feasts to the best of our ability and rehearse them in righteousness. All right, let's go to, let me see what I want from here. Let's go back to the law a little bit. Where we at? Okay, we got some more time for the video. Deuteronomy 31:10. And like I said, any of y'all that was on last week, y'all should have these verses. Y'all should have these verses, and y'all should have studied them throughout the week. All right, y'all supposed to be breaking them down to us, but we can't hear y'all on the live. But next year, man, Lord's will, I want to hear y'all. When we ask questions, y'all better be answering these questions, man, because y'all should know and should have studied from this year. All right, Deuteronomy 31:10. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, in the feast of tabernacles. So the 7 year, the year of release, when you would let your servants go, your servants can go free after 7 years. If they wanted to serve you another 7 years or continue to be your servant, that was up to them. But after 7 years, they can be released and they can go and be hired by someone else, or, whatever they was going to do. But that took place every 7 years, but it took place on the Feast of Tabernacles. When all Israel is come to appear before Yahweh thy power in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. See, that's so we were supposed to read the law to Israel in their hearing. Okay? Right, so the Most High let Khan on the call. Everybody's on super mute tonight. All right. That's it. I'm not trying to get in no trouble with Priest Sabak. You know what I'm saying? Y'all on super mute. But when I ask a question, y'all can say Khan. All right. Let me open my laptop for a minute, y'all. Salakia. Yeah, so we were supposed to keep the feast day to the Most High in the 7th year, the year of solemnity, all right, or the year of release, which took place every 7 years, and it took place on the Feast of Tabernacles. All right, so that's in the law. Let's go to, we're going to go to Ezra, the 3rd chapter, and Ezra, the 3rd chapter, and the 1st verse. Salakia, y'all. I'm trying to pull up something here. All right. Salakia. Let's go to Ezra in the scriptures, chapter 3 and verse 1. Ezra chapter 3 and verse 1. All right, and it says, and when the 7th month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem. Then stood up Jeshua the son of Josedek, and his brethren, the priests, and Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, and his brethren, and builded the altar of Yahweh of Israel to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of Yahweh. So we always went back to the law of Mashah, the law of Moses, the man of Yahweh. All right? And don't let nobody come with that garbage like we not under the law anymore. The law is done away with. No. Verse 3. And they set the altar upon the basis, for fear was upon them because of the people of those countries. And they offered burnt offerings thereon unto Yahweh, even burnt offerings morning and evening. They kept also the Feast of Tabernacles in the 7th month, 15th day, as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offerings by number, according to the custom as the duty of every day required. Hence, Numbers 29, 12 to 40. All right, everybody write that down. All right, Numbers chapter 29, verses 12 to 40, with Ezra chapter 3, verse 4. That's your link up. Once again, Numbers chapter 29, verses 12 through 40, with Ezra chapter 3 and verse 4. All right. Okay, so where we at? Okay, Salaki, y'all. Let's go from there to Nehemiah. That'll be the last one in the Old Testament. There's many more on the Tabernacles, but that'll be the last one in the law. Nehemiah 13, I believe it is. No, let me see what I want. Nehemiah 8. All right, who knows the scripture I'm looking for in Nehemiah? All right. Anybody? Type it in if you know it. The scripture in Nehemiah that speaks about on the Feast of Tabernacles. Or anybody on the conference call? Y'all should have it in your notes. Nobody got it in their notes?
Is it Nehemiah 8?
8 and what?
13?
Khan. That's Mawara?
5.
Khan, sister. See? She was paying attention in the service. She took her notes last week. All right, Nehemiah chapter 8 and verse 13. And it reads, "And on the second day were gathered together the chief of the fathers of all the people, the priests and the Levites, unto Ezra the scribe, even to understand the words of the law. And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Yasha'Allah should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month." So that's another name for tabernacles also, the feast of the 7th month. That was also another name for tabernacles. It was also known as the feast of the 7th month. So they found in the law, after some of them were not rehearsing it in the Persian captivity. In the Babylonian captivity, Salakia. So they found in the law that they were supposed to dwell in booths for 7 days. All right? And that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, "Go forth unto the mount, and to fetch olive branches and pine branches and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of thick trees to make booths, as it is written," in the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. All right. So this is a cut also on them Israelites that say we can't keep the feast days if we're not in Jerusalem. It said they publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem. So that's a cold cut right there. Because you got a lot of Israelites that say you can't keep the feast days outside of Jerusalem. Right here it says all their cities and in Jerusalem. So whatever cities that Israel was dwelling in, they published it to them to keep the Feast of the Tabernacles in all your cities and in Jerusalem. So that's a cut right there. All right, verse 16. "So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, everyone upon the roof of his house, and in their courts, and in the courts of the house of Yahweh, and in the street of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim." So they made booths all throughout the cities. All right, just like you see, like I told y'all last week, you gotta live in New York to see that really, or you gotta be somewhere in a city that has a high concentration of Orthodox, so-called Orthodox Jews. And when you go in their neighborhoods, they got it like that. They got booths everywhere. They got booths on top of their roof, in a courtyard. If you go into an area in Brooklyn known as Williamsburg, they be building booths on their fire escapes. Now, if you live in New York, or if you know about New York, or any city with big buildings or tall buildings, sometimes a building it has like 5 or 6 stories and they have fire escapes. But a lot of time the fire escape is not that big. That's just what it is. It's a fire escape. If a fire break out in your house, you can jump out to the fire escape and go down it's like a ladder that leads down to the ground. That's why it's called a fire escape. But the average one is not that big. But these so-called white Jews, they'll try to be so much into the law they'll build a little small booth right there on a fire escape. They'll take wood or whatever and build them a booth right on a fire escape. And you'll see that if you go to a neighborhood with a large Jewish community, like Jewish population, Salakia. Like there's another, what is that area in Brooklyn? There's Borough Park. There's another area, Borough Park. And you go over there, you see on a so-called, on a Feast of Tabernacles, you see them so-called white Jews, they got booths set up everywhere. Right, you go to New York City right now, you'll see them, because some of them, they don't get to tear them down until actually after Tabernacles. But what are they doing? They're mimicking the scriptures. The Most High said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people. All right, when you read Deuteronomy and Romans. I know some of y'all believe that's talking about the northern kingdom, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. What is the Most High saying? Meaning, he would take the heathen and they would be doing our feast days damn near. They would be walking as if they're the real Jews better than us. What we're reading right here in Nehemiah 8:16, when they built the booths all over the city, you see the so-called white Jews doing that now. You don't see that in the hood. You don't see that around our way. You might see one or two brothers in a neighborhood with some tents in a backyard or whatever. But you go through the hood, you don't see a whole bunch of tents and booths set up everywhere. No. Why? Because we alienated from the law. All right, so we got to understand that prophecy where the Most High would have the Gentiles living as if they're Israelites. All right, to provoke us to jealousy, to show us, look, y'all supposed to be doing this. So when I see that, I get mad. These bastards are not the real Jews, and they going all out. They keeping our feast days 10 times more than we even trying in the truth. What you doing for Tabernacle? I don't know, brother. You try to set up something, huh? No, go sit down. All right, what are you doing for the feast? Ain't no, bro. I don't know. We might try to do something, brother. I don't know. Nah, Israel. We gotta step up our game, all of us. Like I said, man, we trying to plan for next year now. You know, that's we supposed to be in a spirit like that. One feast close out, especially the major feast, you planning for that next feast the next year already. Once that one close out, you got a whole year in advance. I know throughout the year we're planning other feasts, but you know, we supposed to have that zeal, Israel. We supposed to put our spirit into it. All right, not let these damn heathens keep what these scriptures are saying better than us.